Hey everyone, this is Bo. I'm excited to say that I'm about to start on a large project in the shop. I've been spending the majority of my time in our house renovating the first floor, a lot of painting, a lot of refinishing, a lot of trim, new kitchen, lots of stuff going on there. So that is finally finished for the first floor anyway. And so now I've got some time to come out to the shop. The big project for the shop this year is going to be storage, which never can have enough of that, right? And second is going to be a new miter saw station. It's going to be a combination of the two things. There's lots of great designs out there from, Jay's Custom Creations. Norm Abrams has a really good one from New Yankee Workshop. Kind of those two combined are really the two, I think, foundations for a lot of nice miter saw stations. Starts with a big bank of base cabinets and a long continuous work surface. So that's what mine will be tailored after. And of course it'll have upper cabinets here, and then I'll be replacing the cabinet there in the corner and modifying that and putting a new one up in its place. There will be some storage, which is kind of hard to see in the corner for some tall, kind of awkward things that don't fit in cabinets very well. That'll stay over there, but it'll mostly be comprised of drawers. I will be getting a new miter saw as well. I'll be getting the 12-inch Bosch glide saw. And then, as you can see below, I have this large mechanics tool chest, which I will be getting rid of in lieu of just wood drawers, which will be fine. There's not too much heavy-duty stuff in there. It's a lot of mechanics-type tools like sockets, wrenches, miscellaneous hand tools, and whatnot. So I'm getting pretty excited. I just got back from buying all the material. It's quite a bit. I have 8 pieces of 3/4-inch plywood. I have 8 pieces of 1/4-inch plywood. And I have 10 pieces of 1/2-inch plywood. The 1/2-inch plywood is a lot for the drawer construction, so it uses a lot of plywood, uses a lot of wood in general. So I'm excited. I'm going to get started on that. Start on that tomorrow morning here by breaking down all the sheets of plywood. So stay tuned. I'll be documenting the whole process on video here with as much detail as I can provide that I think is required. So yeah. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. The process starts by ripping down these 3/4-inch pieces of plywood, which are going to be the base cabinet sides. First thing is to cut off one of the factory edges that was in pretty bad shape, and then use that edge as my reference point for the rest of the cuts. After the plywood pieces are cut down with the track saw, I move on to the table saw. This first cut is actually oversized. Once again, I don't want the factory edges on there because they're usually not very square and they're pretty rough, so I'm making the first cut oversized, and then I'll come back and set my final dimension and cut them to a final width here. Since I use the track saw to cut them to length, there could be some little differences. So what I'm doing here is I'm clamping 2 sides together, the left and right, and I have them in pairs stacked up against the garage door, and I'm using a flush trim bit to make sure they're the exact same height. off camera, I ripped a whole bunch of 3.5-inch wide strips or stretchers. Those will go in between the cabinets. Here I'm checking my plans and dimensions, talking to myself a little bit, and then adjusting the stop on my miter saw to cut the next set of stretchers. After cutting the stretchers to length, it's now time to drill pocket holes. I ripped 2x4s in half to create these little 2x2 sections that are going to be used to mount the leveling feet. So we got some through holes for, I think I used 5/16 inch carriage bolts, and so these are the T-nuts that go into these pieces of 2x2. From here, got some tricks here, winding down the carriage bolts. Oops. To attach the leveling feet strips to the plywood cabinet sides, lots of glue. Put a couple clamps on to hold it in place. And I'm aligning the bottom surface of the 2x2 to the bottom surface of the plywood cabinet side. After I get these lined up, drill I think 5 holes across the bottom, and then I'm using some pretty robust number 10 by I think 2 or 2.5 inch screws. I also found that I had to countersink them a little bit further than my combo drill and countersink bit, so to make sure they're flush. You don't want the head of the screw sticking out and stopping your cabinets from touching. After gluing the leveling feet on, it's time to move on to the actual cabinet construction. You're seeing the video about halfway in here. I'm making the very center cabinet that goes under the saw. Starts by getting some alignment marks on the cabinet sides, and then using, I found parallel clamp worked the best. The squeeze clamp worked okay, but would sometimes pull the stretchers in or out. The parallel clamp just seemed to have enough heft to it and weight to it where it pulled it down nice and flush. Then driving pocket screws. I am gluing these as well, so there's glue on there, and then driving pocket screws in to hold it in place. One mistake I did make is that stretcher that's on the very front of the cabinet above the toe kick. I wish I would have made a stretcher on the back of the cabinet at that same exact height. That would have made it very easy for me to start placing my drawers. I did not place, I had to basically attach spacers on the inside of the cabinet so I could lay my drawers on them when I started positioning them. But if I would have had a stretcher in the back, that would have made it a little bit easier. As you can see here, I got the rest of the cabinets put together. Pretty simple with pocket holes. Makes it really quick. No need to keep them in clamps. The screws are the clamps. So you saw me cut around my dust collection pipe on that first step, and now I am laying out where the saw is going to go in that middle cabinet, and then going to start leveling that far cabinet in the corner and work my way over to this left cabinet. Now I'm trying to level the center cabinet with the saw on it to the cabinet to the left and right. So the work surface is level with the the miter saw surface. After I'm happy with everything, I start marking level on the wall and then figuring out where the studs are so I can mount the 2x4 cleat against the wall. I want to take a couple minutes to talk about a few details that are hard to capture in the video when I'm working. One was finalizing the cabinet construction. As you can see, as you saw, it's mostly pocket hole screws with a bunch of 3.5-inch wide pieces spanning the cabinets. The cabinet over here on the far left, which is kind of hard to see over the table saw, but is really just a one cabinet box with then kind of a false end piece over by the dust collector, and that's also held together with those 3.5-inch strips with pocket hole screws. And really that's just to provide support for the top of the miter saw station. I won't really store much in there just because there is a dust collection pipe running right through it. One other thing I want to talk about was the backs. I wasn't able to capture any video of that yesterday because my camera died, but I did staple on some 1/4-inch plywood backs to the cabinets, and that really actually stiffened them up quite a bit. I wish I would have done it before I put them into place, because yesterday I was hanging over the back of the cabinets with a stapler, stapling that in. So I wish I would have done that before. That really, like I said, made them more rigid. I guess the downside is I did use access through the back to screw the strip of 2x4 to the wall, which you can kind of see here right by the miter saw. That is what's supporting the back of the miter saw top. There's a 2x4, one there, one in the middle for the saw, and then one on the left for this left side of the miter saw station. That's what supports the back, and that's really what a lot of the weight of the next set of cabinets will be sitting on, is that 2x4 that's into the studs in the wall. Another thing I want to talk about is dust collection. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to bring the camera a little closer here to the cabinet, so give me a sec. So one of the maybe complications with the miter saw build is this dust collection line that runs right down the center of the room. In a perfect world, the miter saw station would be biased more towards that main line, since it would allow me a kind of equidistant right to left between the dust collector and then the corner. Unfortunately, I don't want to move all this. I don't know if I just don't want to move it. So what that forced me to do was offset the miter saw a little bit on this cabinet, push over to the left, and that's so I can get a full swing and clear the dust collection line, as well as allow me to do a bevel to the right. Unfortunately, how narrow I made this cabinet, I'm not able to do a full 45-degree bevel and 45-degree miter to the right-hand side of the saw. There's no way I can clear this dust collection line. I can't even slide all the way over to the left and get it. So gonna have to compromise there. I didn't realize how much space the full bevel plus full miter would take up. It's about an extra foot on each side of the saw base just to get that, and I didn't account for that much. I only account for about 6 inches on each side of the saw base. So I will be able to do a full 45-degree miter and bevel on the left-hand side by modifying the dust collection shroud that's going to go around the saw. Speaking of dust collection again, you can see the blast gate for the dust collector is right on top of this piece of plywood here. I'm going to, when I build the dust collection box around this, I will leave an access back there to be able to open and close that. Also, dust collection, you can kind of see in the camera here, but there's a 6-inch piece of dust collection tube pipe that I'm going to be cutting a hole for it, dropping that into place and screwing it and siliconing that into place. And then there's a flexible dust collection line that goes down and up, and we'll connect to that. Next steps are going to be cutting out for the dust collection, like I said. Got to add a cutout for some electrical over here and a cutout for electrical over here. Then it's going to be screwing the cabinets together as well as screwing the tops on and then attaching them to the wall. So that will really finish all the base cabinetry. One thing that wasn't covered in the video in much detail was leveling the cabinets. It does take some time. Not hard, just takes some time. And I didn't realize how much my floor sloped from the corner out to this way. I didn't have enough adjustment on my leveling feet, so I had to add some scraps of wood underneath them to raise the cabinets on this end up high enough. Leveling the cabinets was starting here, leveling this one, moving over to this far one, leveling that, and then getting the miter saw on this center one and leveling that so the miter saw surface was level with the two existing cabinets. So that was one continuous work surface up top. That did, like I said, it did take some time to do that. And then after I leveled all the cabinets, I added that support against the wall, that 2x4 support against the wall. And then cut the tops, cut around all the ductwork and all the things like that back here. That's all I got to say. I'm going to get to work. I think that's going to do it for video number 1. I appreciate everyone watching. Stay tuned for the next one.